Would anyone like to come up for a story this morning? Well, we're small in numbers today, but we are mighty in spirit, aren't we? Hi, Sam. Hi. So I have well, it's an old story, but it's sort of a new story because you haven't heard it because I kind of made some of it up. But with really good reason, you'll see in a minute. But this is a story that is kind of reading between the lines in the Bible. It's some of the story that could have happened, but we don't really know for sure. But definitely happened in the land we know as the Holy Land. That's what this cloth tells us. And this is a story that happened in the town called Nazareth. And what we do know is that this was the town where Jesus grew up. And Nazareth was a tiny little town, more like a little village actually. And the people there were very poor. They worked very, very hard, but they were very poor. And so this story is my imagining about Jesus when he was a boy in this town and growing up. And he was poor too. He had to work really hard to make sure that there was food on the table. And all the people in this town knew each other. And so there were other children, of course, and then there were a number of adults. And some of them were farmers, and some of them would sell things in the markets, and some of them would work in wood or metal, all kinds of things. But one of the things that Jesus found out really early, like when he was probably even younger than you two, was that where he lived, in this land, there were lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of rules. Lots of rules. And you had to know them all. Because you could be in trouble if you didn't follow all the rules. And the rules were things like food. There were certain foods that you were allowed to eat, and there were certain foods you were not allowed to eat. And that's the way it was. And there were rules about who could be your friends. And so this person could be Jesus' friend, but he wasn't allowed to play or associate with this person because the rules said that. And there were rules about church. There were rules about how often you went, and you had to go. There was no choice. There were rules about what you had to believe and what you weren't allowed to believe. Lots of rules. There were also rules about what work you could do. Once you were old enough to work, you couldn't just do what you wanted to do. You had to do what you were told to do. So if your father was a carpenter, you had to be a carpenter. If your father was a farmer, you had to be a farmer. And of course, if you were a girl, you just had to keep house. You couldn't work at all. Those were the rules. And if that wasn't enough, then there were a whole bunch of other rules that were given by a king who lived a long way away in Rome. And that king decided how much of your money you could keep and how much you had to give to him, and when you could go out and when you had to stay in your home, and all of those kinds of things. So there were rules and rules and rules and rules. And all the rules made the people sad and tired. But everyone was afraid to do anything about it, because if they broke the rules, they would not be allowed to be part of the town anymore. They would have to go away. Except Jesus. And as Jesus got older, and he still lived here, but as he got older, he asked a really important question. He said, if God was in charge, I wonder what the rules would be. And he knew that it would be to love yourself, to love others, and to love God. We've heard that before, haven't we? Yeah. And so Jesus decided, and it wasn't a very easy decision to make, but he decided that he was going to help people to love themselves and to love each other. And he was going to say, I'm going to be your friend even if the rule says not. And I want you to do the work that you want to do, not just what you're told to do. And things started to change. No one was ever left out, and people started to really feel good about their lives. And the way Jesus did that was wherever he went, he gathered people around a table. And anyone was welcome at that table. It didn't matter who you were. And yes, it was breaking the rules, but he felt that love and friendship and belonging was more important than any old rule. And so everyone was welcome, whoever they were. And that's why we have this table, which is empty right now. But we know what happens at that table, don't we? Yeah. In fact, you two are going to help us with that this morning. We're going to have bread and we're going to have juice, and we're going to remember the tables that Jesus sat at by coming to this table this morning. And at this table, there's only one rule. Love. That's it. I wonder how it would feel to have so many rules to follow. Boring. Yeah. I wonder how it would feel to know that there's really only one rule, and that's to love. That make you happy? Of course, you'd have to love going to school. Otherwise, you could be in trouble. You like going to school? That's good. I wonder how it would feel to be part of a place where you know that you were loved. I wonder how that would feel. Great. Might be. But that's the great thing about the love rule, right? Is that it helps us to know what the right thing is to do. Yeah. Well, we're going to sing a song now, a great song that was sung at the first worship service 10 years ago here, and we've sung it a few times since. And it's a song that tells us that this place is a holy place. And it is because we know how to love. Take off your shoes. Oh, it's right there. The switch is on the bottom.
Just, is that on now? No. Now?
So, that's on. Test. It's on. Oh, it's working.
Elaine told a joke on Thursday evening. How many choir directors does it take to change a light bulb? The reply, no one knows, they don't watch her. Just an aside. I just wanted to mention that 10 years ago, as well, it would be 12 years ago, I guess, leaving our old church on Barry Road, we sang this song, Take Off Your Shoes. And the choir actually kicked off our shoes and sang it. And then the first service, 10 years ago, we sang this song. It was a wonderful feeling to have a place to be barefoot again. And today, 10 years later, we're singing it again. So please join us on the choruses, and we'll sing the verses.